What are your thoughts on the new administration's capital gains, corporate tax, and stepped-up basis tax increases?
If Charlie wants to answer that, I'll be glad to have him do it. I long ago, many times have said that I don't put my political opinions or anything in a blind trust when I take this job, but I also don't speak for Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, we've got people have very different views on taxes, and I've expressed some things in the past. But I don't like to speak on behalf of when I'm sitting at a Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting, presumably speaking for Berkshire. I don't really like to get into political questions generally, and I don't really think I should. But I also think if somebody asked me who I vote for the last elections, a personal basis, I voted for Biden now. But I've never asked a single employee of ours who they voted for, anything of the sort. What religion? I am not authorized to go around signing my name as chairman of Berkshire Hathaway to proposals. If I write op-ed pieces, I do it as an individual. I try to make it clear. So I don't want to use the meeting to give a lot of views on taxes. Charlie?
No, but I think it's probably a mistake to be basically anti-capitalist. I think capitalism is what raises GDP for everybody. And I have also a feeling that Benjamin Franklin was right when he said that it's hard for an empty sack to stand upright. And to some extent, the prosperity of leading American institutions helps them behave better. Now, there are exceptions in promotional finance and so on, but by and large, Franklin was right. And so I'm a little wary of just constantly being mad at people because they have a little more money.
What are your thoughts on those people leaving? What keeps you in California?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I frequently said I wouldn't move across the street to save my children $500 million in taxes. And so that's my personal view on the subject. But I do think it is stupid for states to drive out their wealthiest citizens. The old people that don't commit any crimes, they donate to the local charity. Who in the hell in their right mind would drive out the rich people? I mean, Florida and places like that are very shrewd, and places like California are being very stupid. It's contrary to the interests of the state.
How will a 25 to 28% corporate tax rate affect Berkshire's companies?
Well, I don't think it would be the end of the world. We've adapted to the tax rate, whatever it is.
Yeah, I would say that if they raise the tax rate, they're owning the federal government's owning a larger percentage of business. I'm not saying what the tax rate is, but we have a Class A stock and a Class B stock. The U.S. government owns what I call the Class AA stock, and it's a very special stock. They get a percentage of the earnings, but they don't own the assets, and they don't vote on who gets to run the place or anything else. But if the government wants to take, when I was first starting, they used to take 52%, the federal government did, of corporate profits, and they've got, what would you pay to own the government's Class A, AA stock? If there was a public issue by the U.S. Treasury and they said this vehicle, given a name like SPAC or something even sexier, and all it will do is it owns the future tax payments of Berkshire Hathaway forever. And how much is that stock now worth? And it'll pay a big cash dividend, and they'll go up as we retain earnings and build the company and everything else. Well, it's worth more if the tax rate is 25% or 28% or 52% than at 21%. They own a special stock, and when people talk about how it all gets passed through the customer and everything, in the utility business it actually does. That's a special case, but it doesn't in most of our businesses. I mean, it's a corporate fiction when they put out statements about the fact that this will be terrible for all of you people. We pay more taxes. It hurts the Berkshire shareholders if rates are higher, and that may be quite appropriate. But to say otherwise is just it doesn't make any sense. I would love to see the government actually issue. They could have. I mean, they could set up a company, just call it the Berkshire Hathaway Tax Company, and it would take all the taxes we paid every year. How much would they be able to sell that asset for? They talk about unfunded obligations of the government. That's an unreported asset of the federal government. They own part of Berkshire, and they get to determine how much. I mean, it's an interesting question.
In the owner's manual portion of your annual report, Warren, you state, on my death, none of my stock will have to be sold to take care of the cash bequests I've made or for taxes. Would the recent Biden proposal to treat unrealized gains as sold and taxable at death at a 43.4% rate change the amount of stock required to be sold for payment of taxes upon your death?
Yeah, well, the tax law can be changed tomorrow. And it can be done a lot of different ways, and it's been done a lot of different ways in the past. I can tell you, I can actually make a promise to society that 99.7% of what I have when I die will either go to philanthropy or to the federal government. And the federal government can actually determine the rules on that. And I would prefer that it would go to philanthropy. I think it actually will accomplish more utility if it goes to be used by some smart people in philanthropy than if it simply reduces the federal debt by $100 billion or something when I die. I don't think it makes a damn bit of difference. Whether the federal debt is $100 billion higher or lower, it won't change anything in the world. And at present days, it doesn't really save them anything because they can borrow $100 billion. It doesn't cost them anything anyway. But that condition won't prevail. But I would not regard it. I'm just talking personally. I'm not advocating this public policy, but I wouldn't. If they took it all, it would not bother me. I mean,
I guarantee it won't bother you.
Yeah, that's what Charlie was. Charlie says you won't know. But if you decide, if American democracy decides that it's better to take it all, which I don't think they will, and I don't think they should, but nevertheless, so what? And I would like to see it used to accomplish the most for humanity. I mean, and that means having smart people, properly motivated, and more importantly, not improperly motivated, distribute it in a way, and who knows what the hell it would be 10, 20, 30, or 40 years from now. I do know if it goes to the government, it basically reduces the national debt by that amount. I don't think it changes whether they change minimum wage laws or does anything else. I just think a little figure changes. It'll be, it'll show up in the budget one day, received from Buffett, X, and then some huge figure appears down below. I don't think it really, so I would prefer it be used privately, but that's really up to the people of the United States to decide through their representatives.